Okay, here is my video. Like I promised, we are going to graph both of these equations on the same graph, and so that's what we call solving the systems of equations by graphing. So if you do not have graph paper, go ahead and pause me right now and go either find some or create some like I did. Okay, so go ahead and pause it if you don't have graph paper on you right now, because we are going to do this together like we do in class. So we are going to graph the first one first, and I like to color code, and so I'm going to do the top one in brown right there. So the first thing that I identify is my y-intercept, and it says -2. So I go to the y of -2, and I put a point, okay? So then I look for my slope, and it says -3. But I know that my slope is really rise over run, and so a number that I could put under that to give me that fraction is 1. Remember, that does not change the value, so I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1 and put a point. You may notice that I went up, even though it's negative, and that's totally okay. You can go up or down. I like to go up always first, but I know that this is going to be a negative slope graph, and so we read graphs like we do books, left to right, and so that is why I ran to the left, so that when I finish this thing left to right, this graph is going to go down. So on my first line, I like to plot as many points that are available on this, because I don't know where they're going to be intersecting just yet. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1, and it does kind of get messy if you don't have graph paper, and up 3 over 1, so I'm way up here. That's okay. And then I'm going to go back down 1, 2, 3 over 1, and that's all that I have room for. So now I've got to connect and draw my arrows. If you have graph paper, it's more exact, and you don't have to fool with this. So there's my first one, and I've got it plotted. So now I'm going to do the second one in yellow, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but just bear with me. These are the only colors I have right now. So the first thing that I notice is that I don't have a y-intercept listed. So if you think back, we don't want to change the value of it. And so what is something that I could add to that to not change the value? And it is 0. So our y-intercept is 0, and we're going to put a point right there at our y-intercept. And if you remember, we call that the origin, okay? So that did not change the value. If you added 1 to it, it did change the value, so we can't do that. But when I try to look for my slope, all I see is a negative sign. If you think back, I said anytime you see a random negative sign, put a 1 with it. So we are going to stick a 1 with it. And then I realized that it also does not have a bottom to that fraction, so I need to stick it over 1 to not change that value of it. So we are going to start at our y-intercept right here, and I'm going up 1 over 1. And guess what? I actually have found where they intersected, but that was lucky. I'm going to just go ahead and plot a couple more just for clarification. So I can go down and over 1. That's totally fine. I can keep going. And if I do one more up this way, over that way, I think I have it. I'm going to connect and draw my arrows. Okay, so now I have that graph, and you're going to see that they did connect, or they intersected at this point right here. I'm going to circle it really big because this is the point that you have to label. And so remember, our graphs go x and then y, and so my x value is -1 and my y value is +1. So the point where they intersect is -1, 1. This is what you're going to have to enter on iExcel. That's our answer. We had to do all of this to get that answer. And so whenever we're solving systems, we are looking where they intersect, and in this particular one, they intersected at -1, 1.